You're listening to Radio DePaul.
You are listening to Radio DePaul. And guess what? You are listening to the Soundtrack Revisited. Yes, we are back. Finally. It's been over 3 months now. But this is Roxy. My name is Roxy, and I do a show about soundtracks in movies, and every week I choose one soundtrack from one movie, and I talk about it for about an hour, and I play some of the songs, some of my favorite ones, or some that highlight the movie the best. And today, since it's kind of our back-to-school episode, although at DePaul classes have started for a few weeks now, it's still our back-to-school episode because it's our first episode back. So I decided to talk about a movie that I saw in June, right before I went away for summer break, called Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused is a 1993 movie by American filmmaker Richard Linklater. You might know him from his Before trilogy, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. You might know him from his movie Boyhood, which he filmed over the course of 12 years, I believe. You might know him from this movie, Dazed and Confused. Anyways, great filmmaker, and this film, Dazed and Confused, is about his second big feature film. Came out in 1993. It's his, as I said, it's his second major feature film, and right after this one is when he released Before Sunrise. I always confuse them. Before Sunrise, which is, I think, probably one of his most popular films. This one is about the last day of school in a suburb of Austin, Texas in 1976. Important thing about 1976, it's not a random date for multiple reasons. One of them being that it's the bicentennial, bicentennial of the United States. And 1976 is right when Richard Linklater was also a teenager. So he identifies a lot with this time period. I loved this film. I saw it for the first time, as I said, in June before summer break. At the movies, it was playing at my local movie house. Shout out the Logan Theater, and I loved it. It took me a minute to get into it, and then I was like, man, this is so much fun, and it really is a lot of fun. It's a great story, great acting, a lot of like actors that you're gonna see later on flourish in an amazing acting career, but a lot of them it's one of their first roles, namely Ben Affleck, Matthew McConaughey, Mila Djokovic. Maybe others that I'm forgetting. Oh, Parker Posey. Anyways, great ensemble cast. I want to get right into it because we got a lot of music to play today. The first song I want to play for you is the song that opens the movie. It's a great song by American rock band Aerosmith. It is called Sweet Emotion from their 1975 album Toys in the Attic. It is the opening scene, and it's a lot of fun. Alright, that was Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith, which plays in the opening scene of the movie that we're talking about today, which is Dazed and Confused, 1993 release. You gotta picture this scene, kids are coming in with their cars into high school for their last day of school. We all know how exciting that is. And, they're driving in their cars, they're doing a little bit of illicit things in their cars involving certain herbs that we will only allude to. This movie is very, talks a lot about that. So yeah, this is a great opening scene. I think this song is a perfect way to get you in the vibe, in the mood of this movie. Because most of the soundtrack is these 70s classic rock hits or just great tracks from these big bands like Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, ZZ Top, Foghat, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Steve Miller Band, just all the hits. Linklater really, has a specific attachment to this kind of music because he grew up, as a teenager around it. So yeah, this is kind of it's not autobiographical, but it's inspired by his childhood. He's definitely alluded to that. Yeah, as I said, this is about the last day of school. It's just more of an ensemble cast of just characters going through kind of the evening after classes end. It's hard to kind of describe the plot of this movie because there is a plot, but it's very much just moments and different hangouts in different locations involving these teenagers. So it's high schoolers, but also middle schoolers. And next song plays right when the bell starts to ring, announcing that class is over. It is by Alice Cooper, and it is called, very appropriately, School's Out. such a great ending to the song, am I right? Sounds very radio-y. Yeah, School's Out by Alice Cooper from their 1972 album of the same name, School's Out. Plays right when the bell starts to ring because school is out. I just wanted to quote you. One of the famous quotes of this movie happens kind of in this moment while the bell is ringing. Some of these kids that are part of this ensemble cast in this movie are in history class, and as a goodbye, the teacher says to them, "Okay, guys, one more thing. This summer, when you're being inundated with all this American bicentennial 4th of July brouhaha, don't forget what you're celebrating. And that's the fact that a bunch of slave-owning, aristocratic white males didn't want to pay their taxes." End quote. Do with that what you will. It's a pretty iconic quote from this movie. I see it posted almost every year for the 4th of July. Do with that what you will. All I'll say is that I really like that quote. But yeah, School's Out, Alice Cooper, great song, so much fun. We're going to jump into the next song fairly quickly because it's a pretty long one, but I really wanted to play it because I love this song outside of the fact that it's in this movie. I actually knew of it before I watched this movie. It is Hurricane by Bob Dylan, which is a 1975 single of his. And this one, I'll just situate the moment that it plays. It plays when we are, not the first time, but one of the first times that we are introduced to Matthew McConaughey's character in this movie. I'm blanking on his name. So Matthew McConaughey is in this movie. It's one of his first roles, if not his first role. I think he was just, scouted when the film was starting to shoot in Texas. As you all know, Matthew McConaughey is from Texas. So he was scouted and he played in this movie. And you can already tell this guy is a whole lot of charisma in one person. This song plays when he's about to he's entering this pool hall that a lot of the movie takes place in, or at least a pretty long sequence of the film takes place in this pool hall called the Emporium. And it plays in the background, so it's a diegetic song, meaning that it's we hear it in the world of the movie, not just as a soundtrack. But I really wanted to play it because Hurricane is a song about the American boxer Reuben Hurricane Carter, who was a black man who was falsely accused of a murder in, I believe, 1966 in Paterson, New Jersey. Somebody was killed in a bar, and this boxer man, Robin Carter, was just around at the time, and so he was falsely accused and convicted of the murder of this person. And Bob Dylan was really, affected and, involved in this case, and he even went to visit Hurricane. This was his nickname. As I said, his real name was Reuben Carter, and he went to visit him in prison. And he wrote this song, which is a pretty long song, but I think it's interesting to listen to because it tells the story of this false conviction. And it's Bob Dylan. So yeah, I'll let you listen to this song called Hurricane by Bob Dylan, and we will be back afterwards.
Pistol shots ring out in a barroom night. Enter Betty Valentine from the upper hall. She sees a bartender in a pool of blood. Cries out, "My God, they've killed them all." Here comes the story of the hurricane, the man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world. Three bodies lying there, does Patty see? And another man named Bello moving around mysteriously. I didn't do what he says, and he throws up his hands. I was only up out of town. Reuben Carter and a couple of friends are driving around. Number one contender for the middleweight crown. Had no idea what kind of shit was about to go down when a cop pulled him over to the side of the road. Just like the time before and the time before that. In Patterson, that's just the way things go. If you're black, you might as well not show up on the street unless you wanna draw the heat. Alfred Bello had a partner and he had a rap for the cops. Him and other Dexter Bradley were just out prowling around. He said, I saw two men running out, they looked like middleweights. Jumped into a white car with out-of-state plates. And Miss Patty Valentine just nodded her head. Cop said, wait a minute, boys, this one's not dead. So they took him to the infirmary. And though this man could hardly see, he told him he could identify the guilty man. The wounded man looks up to his one dying eye. Say, why'd you bring him in here, boy? He ain't the guy. Here's the story of the hurricane. The man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world. Later, the ghettos are inflamed. Rubens in South America fighting for his name. Well, Arthur Dexter Bradley's still in the robbery game. And the cops are putting the screws to him looking for somebody to blame. Remember that murder that you happened in a bar? Remember you said you saw the getaway car? Think you'd like to play ball with the law? Think it might have been that fighter that you saw running that night. Don't forget that you are white. Arthur Dexter Bradley said, I'm really not sure. The cop said a poor boy like you can use a break. We got you for the motel job and you're talking to your friend Bello. You don't want to have to go back to jail, be a nice fellow. You'll be doing society a favor. That son of a bitch is brave and getting braver. We wanna put his ass in the stir. We wanna pin this triple murder on him. He ain't no gentleman jail. Reuben could take a man out with just one punch, but he never did like to talk about it all that much. It's my work, he'd say, I do it for pay. And when it's over, just as soon go on my way up to some paradise where the trout streams flow and the air is nice, and ride a horse along the trail. But then they took him to the jailhouse where they tried to turn a man into a mouse. Cards were marked in advance. The trial was a pig circus, he never had a chance. The judge made Reuben's witnesses drunkards from the slums. To the white folks who watched, he was a revolutionary bum. And to the black folks, he was just a crazy nigger. No one doubted that he pulled the trigger. And though they could not produce the gun, the DA said he was the one who did the deed. And the old white jury agreed. Reuben Carter was falsely tried. The crime was murder one. Guess who testified? Bello and Bradley, and they both they lied. And the newspapers, they all went along for the ride. How can the life of man. Be in the palm of some fool's hand. To see him obviously framed couldn't help but make me feel ashamed to live in a land where justice is a game. Criminals in their coats and their ties are free to drink martinis and watch the sunrise, while Reuben sits like Buddha in a 10-foot cell, an innocent man in a living hell. Yes, that's the story of the hurricane, but it won't be over till they clear his name and give him back the time he's done. Put in a prison cell but one time, he could have been the champion of the world.
Alright, I am back. That was Hurricane by Bob Dylan, 1972. We are talking about Dazed and Confused, 1993 movie by Richard Linklater. I fear we're going to have to go on a little short commercial break, very short, but we will be back with some more great 70s classic rock tunes. Sit tight, it's going to be about 2 minutes, maybe even less. Alright.
Interested in hearing what great music the DJs at Radio DePaul are listening to? Yeah! Check out the Radio DePaul playlist. Every week, a different set of songs from some of our favorite artists will be uploaded onto our Radio DePaul Spotify page. Let us soundtrack your studying with the Radio DePaul playlist.
This message brought to you by Radio DePaul, Chicago's college connection.
Combining the many aromas and flavors of our grandma's favorite recipe with a new cutting culinary edge, Tata's Tacos brings the experience of our family gatherings to your table. Come taste our authentic Mexican flavors at many of Tata's restaurants across the Chicagoland area. Experience an explosion of Mexican cuisine at Tata's.
Make a connection.
This is Fullerton.
The stop for Radio DePaul, your Chicago college connection.
You are listening to Radio DePaul. This is Roxy with the Soundtrack Revisited. With our first episode back, we are talking about the soundtrack for Dazed and Confused. We just listened to Hurricane by Bob Dylan. Great song. Very interesting story that if you want to look into, you totally should. But if you listen to the lyrics of the song, you've got a lot of information already. As I said, this scene doesn't introduce, but highlights Matthew McConaughey's character because, fun fact, this is one of his first roles. And this movie is where a lot of his iconic lines are from. Namely, his famous, alright, alright, alright. Which I love. But yeah, he says that, I think, at least twice in this movie. Maybe only one. Memorable. Next song I want to play for you is a song called Free Ride by the Edgar Winter Group from 1972. This song plays after a pretty funny scene where a party that was supposed to happen, organized by one of the teenagers, one of the high schoolers, gets canceled because his parents figure out that he was going to have a party while they were gone. It's very funny. This is a really funny movie. If you want to have a good laugh, great tunes, you should watch it. Anyways, this song plays when everybody is like, okay, we're just going to start heading out, get in our cars, school's over, we can finally, ride around town and have a lot of fun, listen to some great tunes. And this song, Free Ride, plays around that time in the movie. That was Free Ride by the Edgar Winter Group, borrowed from the soundtrack of Dazed and Confused, 1993 movie by Richard Linklater. This is, as I said, this is very much an ensemble cast movie following, I don't even know how many, I didn't count how many characters there are, but there are quite a bit. A mix of high schoolers and middle schoolers, just having a good time, more or less. Now's the time where I have to talk about the violence in this movie. It's not horrible. It's just, it involves a lot of high school traditions that I was not familiar with, having not grown up in the US nor in the 70s. These kind of traditions involving freshmen and seniors, where in this movie, the senior guys have to essentially beat up the incoming freshmen who are at this point, at the end of summer, just finishing middle school, and they get to just beat them up, as part of a tradition. And with the girls, the senior girls get to pour a bunch of flour and condiments onto the incoming freshmen and humiliate them in front of other guys of the school. It's really strange, but I guess it's that's high school for you. I didn't realize it was that bad in terms of pranks, but I guess it is. And one of the bullies is played by Ben Affleck. He's one of the worst bullies in the movie. He's really intent on using this paddle that he has to spank the incoming freshmen, because he's a senior. Ben Affleck plays this senior. And he's really intent on, beating up these freshmen, especially one of the characters who I would argue is kind of the main character. His name is Mitch Kramer, the character's name. And he's a little kid, he's just coming out of middle school, and he's being chased for the better part of like 2 hours, maybe less, but by these seniors who want to beat him up. And this next song that I want to play for you plays when the seniors are running after some of the incoming freshmen, driving after them in their car. And this song starts to play, an amazing song by a great band, the leader of which sadly passed recently. This is Paranoid by Black Sabbath. That was Paranoid by Black Sabbath from 1970. This is a 1970 single, I believe. Yeah, I believe they released it as a single, but it's also the title track of their record, their full-length record called Paranoid as well. This song, I don't remember if it plays in the actual cars that they're driving, but yeah, it starts playing when they're chasing after these kids. Yeah, that's the only part of the film where I was a little bit not uncomfortable, but like, oh my god, this is not giving me PTSD from middle school. Thankfully, it never got that bad for me. But yeah, pretty intense hazing, if you can call it that. from these incoming seniors to the incoming freshmen. Next song I'm going to play for you is by ZZ Top. ZZ Top is played quite a bit in this film, and there's kind of a reason for that. And one of the reasons being that initially this film, or the idea for this film that was going to be about, teenagers in the late 1970s or second half of the 1970s, their last day of school, listening to all this classic rock. Initially, it was going to be a little bit more experimental for Richard Linklater, and it was going to be a full-length movie of just kids driving a car, and just a one shot, or at least like not that many shots, but one scene of them driving the car, listening to a ZZ Top album from top to bottom. Obviously, that's not what it ended up being. It ended up being a little more narrative, but it's still like having a little bit more narrative structure, but it's still pretty like, it's a vibes movie, as I like to call them, where it's just like, things are happening, but it's more about feeling the moment and feeling like you're just following these kids around, having a good time. And that's what's happening, mostly having a good time, as I've previously mentioned. This is Tush by ZZ Top. It's spelled like Tush, Tush, but I think it's a play on words between Tush and Touch, as you will hear in the lyrics of this very fun song. This is Tush, Tush, Tush by ZZ Top. That was Tush by ZZ Top. Plays when one of the protagonists that I had mentioned, Mitch Kramer, who's an incoming freshman, is riding around with the seniors. Like, he's got an in with the seniors, and it's like, oh my God, he's driving with the seniors. And this song, Tush by ZZ Top, starts playing. A little more background on the film itself and the making of it that I found interesting is that, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this show, this is Richard Linklater's second major feature, and it was kind of not a response, but he was able to get money to make this film thanks to his first film called Slacker, which kind of has not a similar premise, but I'd say a similar vibe to it. Also takes place in Austin, Texas. also about younger people and kind of just about their everyday lives, but how eccentric it can be, to live everyday life in the 1970s in Austin, Texas. And so after that movie that, had some minimal success, he was given the opportunity by a producer to make the $6 million movie. So Dazed and Confused has a budget of around $6 million. So this producer from Universal was like, okay, I'll give you $6 million to make another movie. And so that's how Dazed and Confused happened. And he used a lot of his crew that he had used for his previous film, Slacker, to shoot on Dazed and Confused because they all got along and they worked pretty well together. But they were kind of like an indie crowd, in terms of filmmaking. Whereas this second movie, Dazed and Confused, was more of a studio production. The producer was from Universal, Gramercy Pictures. Like it's a step up. But Linklater decided to keep his crew because he knew that they just worked well together. And I think that's great. And I think that's really interesting to mention because, it's true that in film, even in the student world, it's a lot about building your own community and your own people that you trust and just bringing them back every once in a while because you know that you guys work well. And hey, the results are usually pretty great. Dazed and Confused is a very fun film that I recommend you watch if you want to have a good time, if you want to listen to some great tunes, if you want to have a little laugh. If you want to have a little trip down memory lane, if you were a teenager in the 70s, maybe you'll enjoy it. Because as I said, this kind of, for Linklater, was a way to revisit his childhood. Because he was 16 in 1976 when this movie takes place. And he is from Texas. So, pretty close to what he might have lived. Last song I want to play for you plays at the very end of the movie. Yes, sadly, we are already getting dangerously close to the end mark of this show. But the last song that I want to play for you is called Slow Ride, and it's by a band called Foghat, and it's from 1975, and it plays at the very end of the movie when our semi-protagonist, I guess, Mitch, who's an incoming freshman, comes back home from this crazy night that he spent with all these seniors doing all this crazy stuff. He comes home at dawn, gets back home. His mom is doesn't know whether to be angry or not, because I think part of her is a little, not proud, but oh, yeah, my son has friends. But yeah, she decides ultimately not to punish him, which, to the dismay of his older sister, who's like, what the heck? If I was in this position, mom would be screaming at me. We've all been there, right? I mean, not me. I'm a younger sibling, but I feel like older siblings will relate to that. This last song, Slow Ride, plays at the very end of the movie when Mitch comes back into his room and he puts on his headphones and this song plays. So I'm going to play for you in a second. But what I do want to say about Dazed and Confused as some last couple words is that when it first came out, it wasn't a big success. It made $8 million in the box office, which can seem like a lot, but for a $6 million movie, that's really not that much. So it was somewhat considered a flop, but with time, it's become kind of a cult classic for many reasons, partially because of Matthew McConaughey and this is his first role, and there are, as I said, a lot of, famous lines of his, quotes that we attribute to him that are from this movie. But also, I think it captures something that a lot of people either can relate to or are fond of, teenagers hanging out after the last day of school. I think it's interesting to note that it didn't work at first, but with time, people kind of got the vibe of it. And to send you off, before I play you this last song, I want to quote the very famous line that Matthew McConaughey's character says at the very end. Let me tell you this. The older you do get, the more rules they're going to try to get you to follow. You just got to keep living, man. Livin. This was the Soundtrack Revisited, talking about Dazed and Confused. We will be back next week to talk about another great soundtrack. I hope you have a great week and enjoy Slow Ride by Foghat.
The stop for Radio DePaul, your Chicago college connection.